Welcome back to Great Day. Our first guest was chosen as one of 15 Americans to tour the Soviet Union during the Cold War with a traveling play. Author Joy Saxton formed a friendship that left a lasting impression and inspired her to write and illustrate her book series, from Joy in the Faraway Land and Joy Goes to Paris and Other Countries. Today, she's teaming up with Literacy Now for the 6th annual Houston Reads Day. Volunteers will read to more than 17,000 pre-K through 5th grade students while bringing awareness to the literacy crisis in Houston. Joy and the CEO of Literacy Now, Jacqueline Minima Wilson, join us to share how they're teaming up to turn the page on illiteracy. And Maria also joins us this morning. Good morning, Maria.
Hola.
¿Cómo está?
Oh, bien, gracias.
Working in children programming. You have been working with children even since you were a child yourself.
Yes, I have. I started anchoring a kids' TV show at 8 years old.
Wow.
And I learned that I have a voice. And I want to teach children that they have a voice and that they matter.
And you've used that voice for all kinds of things: the Just Say No to Drugs campaign, AIDS awareness, Sunshine Kids with Cancer, NASA space missions as well, and making it understandable and enjoyable for them. That passion for performing turned into service. You know, sometimes we think that what we have a passion for is not like a real thing, right, to be shared, and in the sense of a job. But this has been your career.
Yes, it has. I have learned to really love the world, and I want to teach children to love each other. And I've had so many beautiful opportunities in the arts.
Yeah. You started your nonprofit, Joy International. Now, when did Maria join you?
Maria, I found her recently, and she goes with me into the schools. And yes, I do, and I love books, and she loves books.
and when she loves to read, the kids are going to love to read.
And the kids loved Maria.
Yeah. All right, and Jacqueline, any way we can get them there, we're got to get them there, because the crisis that we're facing, you know, if you're in your own home and your child's reading fine, you don't see it, right? You don't feel it. We're all going to feel it at some point. In fact, we're feeling it now.
We're feeling it now. And so for us, what we're realizing is that, as you mentioned earlier, 32% of Houston third graders are reading on grade level. And so our programs that we have in the school, our reading intervention program, we're really trying to meet the students where they are, building on those foundational skills. So we want to get them on grade level or above grade level when they're in our program for 25 consecutive weeks during the school year. So if we're able to start as early as infancy, to be quite honest, we're already making headways if we're starting that early.
Yeah, but when we say 32% are reading on grade level, 68% are not. Translate that into what happens if that child doesn't catch up by third grade, and certainly if they never catch up.
So, good point. And so if children are not reading by third grade, they're 4 times likely not to graduate high school. So that's like a very a glooming statistic. And so for us, it's like a community crisis, if you will. Like, we all have to come together and start somewhere, and that's where our biggest program is coming up this Friday, Houston Reads Day, is to bring the community together, volunteers together, to know that we are in this together, to make sure they are bridging those gaps and making sure children are reading on grade level before third grade.
I remember my mom growing up, and she went to school in the 20s and 30s, and a book was everything. That was a movie. That was what we see today as it was everything. We almost have to reteach our kids to read and the value of reading and putting a book in their hand. A lot of families don't have books in their hands. But, you know, Reads Day is going to show people sitting in that classroom in our community who are reading to these kids, and then to encourage them to also read to themselves.
It is, and so I think what the highlight is, like, having one of our local authors, Joy, here with me.
Yeah, because when I was showing up and reading, I didn't have this. I didn't have any of this extra stuff going on.
But it's the joy of it, though. Seeing community members coming to see the classrooms. They're reading to them. They're seeing professional people come to read to them. So in their eyes, they're saying, oh, this is what I can be, and seeing them having a joy of it as well, too. So they're expressing themselves through literature, and so children are able to receive that and just exude that same excitement as she does as well, too.
Yeah. All right. So there's being read to, which most kids start out if the parents can read to them, right? And then there's reading on your own, but then there's the crossover where you start writing your own books. When did that start for you, and when did that idea go, okay, I can create stories as well?
Well, really, my teacher, honestly, inspired me. When I was a child, I had an assignment to write a book and draw a book. And I did. And I remember my mom taking it to Kinko's and getting it printed.
Wow.
And I thought, I can write books. Yeah. And so I later grew up and wrote. So really thanks to my teachers believing in me and giving me opportunities. And really kids need to know that they have a voice and that their voice matters.
Because that's a click in the brain when you go, wait a second, I'm reading stuff, but I can also create stuff.
Yes.
All right, Maria, tell me about like one of your books and what you want kids to get from your book.
Oh, well, when we go to Mexico, I like kids to learn it's a beautiful place and the children are loving and kind.
And you know, and especially right now, it's
Yes.
something to look at. They're having some big battles right now, some big problems right now in one of their towns. But not to forget that there are people there and there are children there that have nothing to do with that, right?
Yes, the children are beautiful. The children love each other, and I want them to know that we can all be friends across the world, everywhere.
I'm like really falling in love with this. I want to have lunch with you, Maria. Okay,
It's a date, okay?
The power of a book. What was the first book that you connected to that you received a message from?
Oh, goodness. I think one of the books that I received a message from, maybe this was probably high school, if you will, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
And is when I truly like fell in love with reading, is because then I'm like, okay, I can explore reading in different ways. And so in elementary was different, middle school was different, but I remember my 9th grade teacher, Mrs. Johnston, she put that book in our hand. We talked about it, and that was where the joy of like reading for fun came from me, was 9th
and you say
grade.
we talked about it. I
Yes.
remember that too. And
Yeah.
in our classroom,
Yeah.
we all sat down and had a conversation about how we should treat human beings
Yeah.
and that whole meaning of that story. But the book that I connected to, I don't know how this book fell in my hand in 6th grade, but it was Night by Elie Wiesel. And Elie Wiesel had chronicled being in a Holocaust survivor. And I was like, how can people treat people that way? How can, you know, so reading is enlightening. We need the read. Some things you might not learn in class.
Yes.
You'll learn in your own private time and figure out how you deal with that. What was your first book?
My first book was Joy in the Faraway Land.
Oh no, the first one you ever read.
Oh, the
that
first
you
one?
connected to. Yeah. Because I
Sorry.
say, what's the first book you wrote, Jacqueline?
It was my mom read me Goodnight Moon.
Oh
that's a good
yes.
classic.
Oh,
I will never forget my mom reading it.
Yeah. All right. How can people help this organization? I know there's Reads Day. We have volunteers
Yes.
coming in, but this is a 24/7, 365 effort.
Yes. Please visit our website at literacynowhouston.org to find out ways to get involved. If you are still interested to be a volunteer reader, we still have space in our North Houston schools. Please go to our website, literacynowhouston.org, and register to be a reader on Houston Reads Day. As you mentioned, we are reading to over 17,000 children across Houston from pre-K to 5th grade. And so as many people can get involved, we would love that.
And so many different things. Reading intervention, parent partnership. Because
Yes.
if kids don't have that support at home, sometimes it falls off after the school bell rings,
Absolutely.
right? And then the Reading Express, you have the Lunch Bunch,
Yes.
all kinds of programs where kids can have access to reading, and that opens the door to future jobs that they can, you know, have more earnings, because we certainly know that
Absolutely.
when you can't read, it can handicap people in terms of what their financial stability can be in the
Correct.
future. All right, Houston Reads Day is February 27th, and more volunteers are needed, as she mentioned. Donations will also help to sustain programs throughout the year. If you want to help, visit literacynowhouston.org, literacynowhouston.org.